To my presentation on painting. So in this presentation, I'm going to be showcasing 4 different learning styles. So we've got visual, auditory, reading and writing, and kinesthetic. So learning through the visual learning style, people tend to learn through graphs, tables, charts, maps, colors, and diagrams. So seeing things and how they are made or how they look or the finished product is how these people learn. Then we have auditory, which is learning through verbal discourse, discussions, conversations, auditory repetition of the learning matter. So again, listening to interviews or music with relevant information would be helpful. Then we have reading and writing, which is reading notes, handouts, and textbooks. That's probably the most popular learning style, just because of school. We tend to read a lot and write a lot in school, and especially homework is usually based around that in secondary school. Kinesthetic is learning through performing physical activity to learn something as an active participant. So learning through tasks and through physical activities. So our first artist is George Shaw. George Shaw is a contemporary British artist known for the realistic depictions of banal spaces in English suburbs. I learned about this artist through interviews and the music that inspired him, and I became a huge fan of his work. He grew up in a rougher area, as he calls it, in UK. I love that his paintings have quite a simple color palette. They do have um an interesting combination of certain colors. Like we've got on the bottom right here the orange barrier, which just really pops in that picture, and the yellow sky on the top left. I think there is a lot of life in his paintings, even though there is no people present in any of his work. So I do admire that a lot. In the interview, he said, quoting, "It has been said my work is sentimental. I don't know why sentimentality has to be a negative quality. What I look for in art are the qualities I admire or don't admire in human beings. So we see mess and dirt in some of the pictures, or a ripped up couch in the middle of an estate, but there is something simple and beautiful about it, in my opinion." So I was learning about George Shaw through auditory learning. George Shaw was highly inspired by the band Specials, which is quite surprising considering he said most people listened to punk rock when he was younger. As he grew up with older brothers as well, and they all listened to more punk rock music. And I enjoyed listening to the Specials, but I wouldn't say it would be considered punk rock or anything too close to rock. So in the interview that I watched, he mentioned something really interesting to me, which was, within the space of 5 years, what I saw was my childhood being removed. And in some senses, bits of myself. You lose people, you lose your parents or siblings or friends, but you also lose places. I think this is really touching to me because I can relate to it, and I think most people can. And it made me a huge fan of his work and him as an artist. So I recreated a painting, not painting, I painted an image of my shed in my family home in Poland, which is also extremely sentimental to me. I kept the background nice and simple. I love the pop of green and the strong vibrancy of some of the colours. I really enjoyed making that painting, and I do think it has a strong connection to how George Shaw inspired me. So, yeah, next slide. So our next artist is Giorgio Morandi. Giorgio Morandi's art is characterized by abstract geometric compositions, I think his art is also very simple. The colors are quite muted, and it really captures the Italian atmosphere rather than structural buildings and sharp lines, and it just captures the sun and the atmosphere and the overall light that is visible in Italy. Even the greens are a lot warmer and toned down and not as bright as they would be in Ireland. Um, Beyond aesthetics, his work convey a spiritual dimension, inviting viewers to contemplate transcendency, transcendence, and inner harmony, thus offering a space for introspection and reflection on the mysteries of existence. So again, no people visible in his paintings, just a simple countryside Italian life, trees and buildings and red rooftops. So I learned about Morandi through reading and writing. So I wrote a little paragraph about Morandi right there. So Morandi's landscapes are characterized by their simplicity and restraint. He often depicted the hills and countryside surrounding his native Bologna, focusing on the timeless beauty of the Italian landscape. Through his meticulous brushwork and subtle use of colour, Morandi captured the essence of these landscapes, imbuing them with a sense of tranquility and introspection. So I highlighted some of the bits that I enjoyed reading in the text that I mentioned in the small paragraph on the top. Next slide, and this is me recreating something similar to Morandi's work. Even though I do think I could have muted the colours a little bit more, I do think that the turquoise sky just works for me, and I do really like it. And the photograph taken in the corner was taken by me in Italy in San Gimignano. And I think that is a good depiction of Giorgio Morandi's style. Okay, our last art is Maurice Utrillo. Maurice Utrillo, a French artist, gained fame for his evocative paintings of the streets and buildings of Paris. His unique style captured the charm and character of the city's neighborhoods. I think his style is very typically Parisian to me. You can tell he grew up in Paris. The blocks of colors, he has so much detail in the windows and the doors and the trees, the paintings. So here I'm learning through visuals. So I took his paintings and I selected the colors that are visible in them. I studied the perspective of the paintings, and then I took my photographs that I believed were similar enough to his work, also from Italy, and I just selected the colors that are visible in the painting as blocks. Then I also played around with the perspective of my image and his painting. The top right painting is my favorite of his work. I love the red and the yellow contrast on the muted background of mostly greens and light blues. So I really enjoyed studying that. And then the last slide here, we've got a picture I painted of Gorey Main Street. I tried to use strong, vibrant colours and really exaggerated Gorey Main Street because it's not as colourful in reality. But I just wanted to show the connection between Gorey and his painting that's visible in the left corner. I'm quite happy with the painting. I do think it's simple, but I think it is quite attached to his style of work, with the blocky windows and the blocks of colours. We've got purple, yellow, white, grey, and then the green in the back, which is obviously Tara Hill. And that would be it for my presentation. So we're going to do questions now. Okay, we've got my interviewer here.
What is your favorite learning style?
I think my favorite learning style is learning through reading and writing, as it's just something I've always been used to because of school, and I also really enjoy reading in my spare time, so I think it just helps the information seep into my brain the most.
Which of those three artists is your favorite?
I do think George Shaw was my favorite artist that I studied. His work was just the closest to how I um often try to. I mean, my work is also quite sentimental, so I do think I have a stronger connection to George Shaw, and I do think he captures nostalgia the most out of the rest of the artists, and I really enjoyed studying about him and discovering him through music and interviews.
Do you think Giorgio Morandi's paintings are too simple?
I think they are very simple, and I don't think they're technically too complicated to make. But I think, again, he's not capturing people or structures of buildings. He's more so capturing um, the atmosphere, the Italian atmosphere, the air, and the warm light, and how the warm light affects the green and the brick and the red rooftops. And I think he captures that beautifully. So no, I don't think they're too simple. Thank you.